get into it. The most interesting game on Thursday night's schedule. It's a battle between historically strong in-state rivals. One headed one direction, the other headed quite another direction. Final score, Kentucky 95, Louisville 76. Deadleg, did that do it for Kenny Payne, or is Louisville going to let this disaster continue to unfold in a very public and embarrassing way?
Good morning, GP.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm good.
No Santa hat. All right, that's all right.
Yeah, I didn't. It didn't occur to me that Christmas is just right around the corner.
It is. Did you get your shopping done?
I'm aware of it. It just didn't. As I was preparing for a podcast, I was more focused on UCLA and Maryland.
Yeah, well, yeah, that equates to a bunch of coal in the stocking. We will get to UCLA and Maryland later in the show. Happy holidays to everyone. If you're listening to this as you travel to see friends and loved ones, we appreciate you spending some time with us. And we got plenty of hoops to talk to. Kentucky Louisville is absolutely the place we got to start here because it was the most recent event. Game was whatever, to be honest. I actually thought it could have been worse. I thought Louisville, the fact that it wasn't a complete runaway. It was more like Kentucky played the game in third gear, did what it needed to do. And, it seemed like the building, I saw a few photos, some reports on the ground. It seemed like it was close to 50-50. So Louisville fans actually did show up in decent numbers there. And then as we talk here on Friday morning in the 9 a.m. Eastern hour, we don't have any update on Kenny Payne. My sense, this can always change, of course. My sense is that there will not be a sever here on Friday, in part because I was told, as happens. I was at the Duke Baylor game. We'll get to that in a little bit. But after that game, Duke had like half its roster going in different directions for the Christmas break. And so Louisville's team either has dispersed or will soon disperse to go their own ways for their Christmas holiday. And, if there is going to be a change, typically, you gather the team so you can have, you try and handle this the right kind of way. And I don't know if listen, Louisville decided not to fire Kenny Payne in advance of the Kentucky game. You and I thought that wasn't the right move. But because of that, it may just delay this a day or two until after Christmas. Who the heck knows? They opted to keep him there for the Kentucky game, and it hasn't changed the sentiment whatsoever. Calipari had some obviously nice things to say about his former colleague, his former, his longtime friend, and who was, the lead assistant on Kentucky's best teams, and doesn't think that he should be given a pink slip. And I understand all of that, but I'm not sure if Kenny's going to coach another game. If he does, I'll say this, I'm kind of asking around. If he does, it will be because of how respected he is as a person, his place in the program's history, and everything tied to him even coming aboard to begin with. That's where we stand right now, GP. So we wait and see, but it was Thursday night went about as well or not well as we expected, I guess.
Louisville's down to 185th at KenPom now. Started the season 109th, now 185. So even with poor expectations in the preseason, they have underperformed relative to those. Last season, by the way, started 91st at KenPom, finished 290th. Kenny Payne's now 9-35 as Louisville's coach. He's 1-21 against top 100 KenPom teams, 8-14 against sub 100 KenPom teams. And I've heard some people wonder sort of, well, what would be the point of even doing it now? And I think there's a lot of points to doing it now, or to have, already doing it would have been preferable. The main reason is because we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it right now. Like, I think if you go to YouTube to watch the Eye on College Basketball podcast this morning, the cover is Kenny Payne. Trending on Twitter this morning, Kenny Payne. You could eliminate all of that.
The AD was trending on Twitter last night.
That is the point of doing it now, to end all of that. I don't remember having very many conversations or even thoughts about any game David Padgett coached as the interim coach at Louisville. Once you move on, it ends people asking, when are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And all of the focus turns to who's going to be next as opposed to the result of any individual game. If Louisville loses another game with Kenny Payne, he'll be trending again, and we'll be having the same maybe we won't lead with it anymore.
Please no.
But at some point it'll be like, so hey, dead leg, real quick before we get to the final 4-1. Louisville lost again last night. So like, how much longer are you going to think? We will never stop, and the Louisville fans will never stop. College basketball fans will never stop. And if I'm in charge of Louisville, that's why he does not coach another game. Like I should not know right now that Louisville's next game is at Virginia on January 3rd. But I do know that. Like I shouldn't know that, but I know that.
You're ashamed to know Louisville.
I'm ashamed that I know that. Okay. And if Louisville had already moved on and had an interim coach, I would not know that. And so that's it. I know it might sound backwards to some people. I think the most respectful and kindest thing Louisville could do is tell Kenny Payne, we're going to pay you every penny. We owe you. We gave it our best shot. Everybody understands this is not working, and we don't want to have to watch you continue to go out there and answer questions about this, because at this point there aren't any good answers.
Yeah. Louisville has been sub 500 since the loss to DePaul. It was sub 500 before that, but now it's 5-7. And from a practical standpoint, I mean, there's just, at Virginia, home against a Pitt team, which is solid. We'll see if it's tournament quality or not. Then they're at Miami, at UNC 2 games after that. The point I'm making here is like, this just isn't going to get to a point where Louisville can get its head back above water from a record standpoint. And we will wait and see on that. From a podcast programming perspective, by the way, for our folks out there that are listening, Sunday is Christmas Eve, so we will not have our typical Sunday show because there's also not going to be a ton there. If and when the Payne news breaks, to be determined on when you'll get a show about that, and if you will, because we've talked about it plenty. I honestly, if it happens, like I don't. What would we say in that moment? So while typically if there's a coaching change, depends on, I guess, how it would go and the flow of the news. But if there's a coaching change there, we may well just address it on our next regularly scheduled show. By the way, we will have a special mailbag edition next week as well. But that's separate to any kind of Payne stuff. So just a heads up for folks that sometimes expect a relatively quick drop on news. Because of the calendar, because of GP's holiday schedule, because of my holiday schedule, when we may or may not be home, just don't exactly bank on us. We're not dropping everything over the Christmas holiday to give you 13 minutes on Louisville firing Kenny Payne if it happens.